Welcome to Interstellar Cosmic Conversations, where we share experiences from our hearts to empower others.
Very, very.
Okay, hello, Marco. Welcome to Interstellar Cosmic Conversations. It is such an honor to have you here. I've been doing a lot of very intense interviews recently about the Matrix, and so it's nice to have someone that is going to come in and lighten up the mood a little bit and share from their heart with love, passion, and the just awareness and consciousness that you have for humanity. Your music, your photography, the things that you write speak deeply to many of us. You found beauty in things that many of us can't even see anymore because we're so distorted that we don't even understand what true music, true harmony, true beauty is. And so you create that for us and you bring that back into our remembrance. So I want to thank you for that. And then I just want to allow you to say whatever you'd like to say now, but thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Patricia. It's wonderful to be with you and having some sharing. Yes, I think the idea of sharing love through the creative art and through our imagination it's something that is available and accessible to everyone. It's not just for a few selected people. We all have that ability. However, some of us have incarnate or came into this physical experience with a higher degree of forgetfulness than others, and that doesn't mean that they are better or less than others. It's just every soul has a different reason to have this very dense physical experience. In my case, is expressing through the heart and the heart and arts, and for others is to do something else. It's not. We all are. I believe we all are special. We all are amazing beings. And right now we are through an intense process of remembering. And our job for the people that are in my situation, that are maybe a little bit less forgetful than others. Our job is to just be fully ourselves. It's not so much about saving anybody or helping really anybody. It's just about finding our light within ourselves and share it with just for the joy of it and just because it's so much fun and so much beautiful to do so. Because once you start to the process of creation through your imagination with the pure heart, with no expectations, what happens is that the connection with the part of yourself that is non-physical is so orgasmic, it's so beautiful that then the only wish that sit on top of that is just you want to share. You want everybody to feel that way.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah, and you learned this or not learned this, but you knew this from a very young age, that you were different and that you experienced life differently. You knew that you had a different way of expressing. And so in the interviews that I've listened of yours and the videos that you put out where you just give like 5-minute, 8-minute, 10-minute clips, and I listen to the things that you're sharing, I'm really wanting to know more in depth who Marco is, because this is something that many can't experience on the level that you have. They just don't know how to tap into that. But you knew it at such a young age. So I want to know, from your very first memory, when you knew, or when you could see the reality for what it is, and when you knew that you were different, and how did that affect you in your communication with others and them communicating with you?
Yes. When since I can recall, there was my experience in this physicality was an interesting situation, because I would feel a tremendous amount of love for everything.
At what age?
Particularly when music. Since I can recall, my earliest memory are probably 2 years old or 3 years old. I was extremely sensitive. I was mesmerized by any expression of nature. I would feel a deep love with all my friends, my family, my surrounding. And I thought for a while that everybody were feeling that. I thought that was our natural state of being. And in fact, I suspect it is our natural state of being once we clear up some stuff here on Earth. But then after a while, I realized that there was a discrepancy between what I was feeling and the way how people would respond to the physicality, and also the encouragement and the guidance of the surrounding, whether it was my family or school or church or whatever. At the time, I used to go to church because all the children go to church at the time.
Yeah.
It was in contrast with my internal resonance. So I was feeling a dissonance because the invitation were towards something that wasn't loving. The invitation was to go towards something that was fear-based or separation-based or scarcity-based. And so immediately, as an attempt to make things easier for them, I would tap into an instrument. I would start to play music. Because music for me is such a superior way to communicate than words. I started to do some talking just recently. Before I wasn't thinking about using that device in order to communicate with people, because the language is so infected with easy misunderstanding and miscommunication, and the ego can manipulate and change things. While with music is direct. When it's pure, it just either you listen to it or you just leave, but you cannot make things up. Either you allow it to penetrate your cellular structure, your DNA, your heart, and do its job, or you just leave the room and you can listen to it. There is nothing else that the ego can do with that. Mm-hmm. And so that was my very first way, my attempt to diminish or even dissipate the illusion of separation that was surrounding my environment. It was through music, because that's what I felt when I was hearing heartfelt music. It would right away take me basically to a 0 point, a situation of oneness where I would feel love. So I was aware of two situations. This two situation could be expressed metaphorically, like when you are in a theatrical act, you're in a theater and you're watching a theatrical show. At the beginning of the show, the curtain open up, and there are different characters that play different roles. There's the bad, the good, the ugly, and all the anything in between. And then eventually the show will stop, will finish, and then the curtain will close down, and then the curtain will open up again, and everybody would hold hands, and everybody would clap. So for me, was my organic way of being. I would create a predisposition where I would see people holding hands and everybody clapping. But then the reality was everybody playing a role. And I never got confused between the two. And soon I realized that most of the people started to believe that what their role playing was the reality. Mm. And so I started to create music and in other ways to create vibrational energy offers in order to try to bridge the role playing with the people at the end of the playing, everybody in oneness and clapping and holding hands.
Oh, yeah.
That was my, and I remember since I was 3-4 years old, I would come back home and I would lay down at the time of my sleeping. Before I fall asleep, I would revisit all the role playing that day showed me. And I would have tears of love, and I would embrace everybody. The situation that made me suffer, the situation that made me happy, the situation that made me sad or made me more joyful. It would blend everything into one, and I would feel an immense love for everything, and I would start to cry, and then I would sleep. So that would create a kind of clearing. Mm. Yeah, it would create a kind of clearing, so the day after I would start fresh.
Mm. That was really beautiful, and and I'm so impressed, with listening to the way that you process that. You're definitely an old soul, and I know that I'm an old soul, and I know that when I try to, I couldn't communicate the way that you could at such an early age, but I really relate to what you're talking about with music. I can communicate well now, but I couldn't communicate well then because that had been kind of quenched a little bit, like suppressed in me. And so it was funny because as a young girl, when everyone was experiencing like the modern, like I was born in 1967. So there was like, when you get to your years where you're like in, elementary school, junior high, high school, you're in the 80s, and you've got the rock bands, and then the really high energy that gets everyone, jumping around kind of stuff. I couldn't connect to it. So I would kind of gear myself towards like groups like Air Supply and ABBA. And, I would go to all the music that made me feel a little bit more balanced. And I couldn't relate to the teenagers in high school. I couldn't relate to the kids in elementary school. Plus I had a little bit of a challenge in childhood, but there was just something about me that was always wanting more than what I could see. And I could feel it so deeply that I knew that what was being presented to us wasn't necessarily real, even though I didn't understand it now. At that point, I understand it now. And, so I didn't really know how to communicate with people because I was kind of like an odd duck. I was kind of like, I couldn't connect and integrate in with society the way that I was supposed to. So I didn't know how to communicate with people really. And so you did it through music, but when you would have a conversation with someone, did you find the conversation very challenging?
Oh yes, of course. The whole experience was very challenging in all aspects, because again it was focused on separation, and so for me it was very intensely challenging sometimes, because I was extremely sensitive, and I could also see the truth potentiality of every person that I would be next to. And so it took me a while to figure out that the potentiality is not necessarily the expression, the earthly expression of the person. They are kind of two different things. And at first I was addressing them for what I would see, feel in them, and then inevitably I would have a response that was lower, and that would mesmerize me, would surprise me, because I would be very confused. So it took me a good 10, 15 years before I realized, okay, so there is potentiality, and then there is the earthy version that is still walking a little step by step. So I have to learn to discern the two. And so that was, once I got into that, it started to become less challenging. And of course, also growing in self-love always diminishes the challenge of the experience, because you're not seeking evaluation or validation from the outside world. You don't need to be understood anymore. Once you don't need to be understood, there is much more freedom in your sense of being, and then you can be much more compassionate and can be much more understanding.
Yeah, that's true too.
So that occurred the first 20 years of my life. Yeah.
Okay, so I want to ask you this, and I have to put my glasses on for this one. Those that are able to connect to their heart. Oh, okay, thank you. Those that are able to connect to their heart are able to remember more of who they are. There is a way in which we all do that know how to. So to help others that ask the questions, what does that mean? And I'm asked that very often. What can you share as your way of letting go of your mind's thoughts and going into your heart space? My automatic response to this, and just hearing you, is music, but everyone is not so musically talented and is aware of how to create that. So can you help someone understand how to connect to their heart space?
Yes. Until now, I have found basically, I think, 5 possibilities to fully connect with our truth, inner core truth. In the infinite number of deceptions where we are surrounded, I found 5, you can call it portals, or 5 doors. One is stillness, being present in stillness. That immediately take me to what many call source, which is, in my opinion, still us, from a different point of appreciation. So when you surrender to the moment, you really surrender to the moment, then at least I personally immediately connect with the heart and with the soul. So that one way. Another way is through music, of course. In my specific way, music has the ability to dissipate the illusion of separation instantly when it's purely conceived. Purely conceived means when it's not, when the ego is not part of the process. So there is not a hidden agenda. It's just the pure joy of creating music. So music is another way. Third way is nature. I found nature very, very direct portal. Although nature too needs a lot of healing, I don't think the organic nature is predatory. I think the predatory aspect of nature came later somehow. But nature is a wonderful way to connect with ourself and our heart, and open our heart. And then imagination, creativity, imagination. it's another door for me, using our imagination, which means not follow the curriculum that is overimposed on ourselves, but just following our resonance. Imagination is resonance. So what it feels good, what it sounds good, is much more important than what is intellectually good. And then lovemaking is another pure part. When the act of lovemaking is pure, then it's another way to connect with the heart. So in my journey so far, I noticed that those are the ways for me to stay connected with my heart. But for me, it's, I don't know, it's very easy to open the heart. It's not, it's the female energy within us, ourselves, and needs to be honored and needs to be activated. And obviously we are in a world that for now is very male oriented, because if the collective is dominated by male energy, it's much more easy to control a person. It's much more easy to predict. People that are in the male energy are very predictable, very controllable, very corruptible. It's easy to corrupt a person, to step out from his own inner integrity when he's only male. And also, you know, we can easily convince people to be violent and to go to war and kill people if they are only in the male energy. But when they are female and male energy are balanced, and the female is slightly higher, just a little bit higher, I think that's the ideal way to be a creator and literally to create our reality through the frequencies of love and oneness.
Thank you. You know, that you brought up a lot of things for me in that, because it's in this particular incarnation that we're in, where we really feel dominated by the masculine. There's a distorted masculine and there's a distorted feminine. But I do know that it was so easy because of the very masculine patriarchal system to want to try to subdue your feminine aspect and act like you were the man. So you would try to lose because like even if you go into religion, it will tell you your heart is desperately wicked. How can you trust it? So you already were thinking, oh, if I feel with my emotions and my heart, oh, I'm being deceived. That's not truth. I've got to go to the brain and logic. So as a female, you're trying to understand how do you nurture your husband or your partner, your children, your relationships in general. How do you give into that loving, creative aspect of yourself and still cater to that masculine energy? So it's so overshadowed in many ways that we start to try to portray ourselves as masculine beings, and we lose that feminine aspect of ourselves, and that creates a very harsh relationship between the masculine and the feminine, because now when the woman tries to become the masculine, the man has no other option other than try to become the feminine because it's still this trying to balance everything out, you know, and so that becomes so complicated. And for me, I just remember, like, for me, in connecting with my heart, it's really interesting because I do understand that language is distorted, but I also know that I am a communicator. And I know that I have a musical talent, but I wasn't given the opportunity to explore it in my youth. I remember I walked up to an organ at one of my friends' homes. I'd never touched one in my life, but I loved as a child, I loved the movie The Wizard of Oz. And I walked up to her organ and I started playing Somewhere Over the Rainbow with my fingers. And she said, "How do you know that?" I said, "I don't know. I just started playing it." And I never have touched anything again, really, because I never had the opportunity. And then I just got taken on different paths, you know, by choice, in many ways. So it's just really interesting the different ways that we can connect. And so I feel like people need to know that it's like what you said, love making, music, communication, connecting with nature. There's so many different ways. Because I've talked with people, I do sessions with people to try to help them communicate with their higher selves and to get back in touch with their sovereign being. And when I am communicating with them, they're like, I don't know how to do that. Like I try, but I just can't get there. So I don't want anyone to feel restricted, like it has to be because you've heard one person does it this way, that's your limitation. There's so many ways that are specific to your incarnation at this time that will facilitate that connection.
Yes. To me, it's really simple, the whole process. The mind loves to think that only complicated things are real, and when it's too simple, it must be an illusion. But in reality, it's really simple. You just follow your joy. You just follow your joy, and with no expectations. So you allow the joy that you get to be your only needed reward. I understand that many people they are so disconnected they don't even know what their joy is. Well, but that's then our starting point. If I don't know what my joy is, I start to take action towards what I think is joy, and then the synchronicity will take me to a series of experiences that will allow me to share more what is the difference between joy and maybe anxiety or maybe addiction or maybe neediness, until by taking action with great passion, I start to identify the core of my joy. And then from there, I have the formula. I just, in every given moment, I have an infinite amount of choices, and I choose the one that it resonates to me most, that gives me most joy, excitement, that tinglish feeling sensation, without taking too much concern about the how. You just jump fully into the mystery that inevitably the idea of following your joy will always take you to the mystery. So it will always push you to have a pioneeristic approach in life, to a daring approach, daring always into the unknown. It will always push you to step out from your comfort zone and go into the unknown. And you have to tune in with your core and find the trust, because you need the complete trust in life. And so you feel a joy and you take action, because if you don't take action, it doesn't mean anything.
Right.
And once you take action, you trust that, and you allow divine synchronicity to team up with you, because that's what happened. Once you follow your joy, you take action, immediately you are basically co-creating with Source, directly with Source. And Source will always take you to an unexpected situation, much, much bigger than the vision that you had at the beginning of your vision. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful process.
It is. Okay, so you went, so I'm going to ask you this then. I was going to go somewhere else, but since you brought up Source, well, let's go there. I looked at some of your quotes because I love to get inside of someone and feel what they're feeling and know who they are. So I like to get deep inside of someone's soul and know them. And you say Source is ourselves at the beginning of our journey. And I'm going to ask this next question when applicable to anyone I'm interviewing, because this seems to be the most wanted knowledge, and it is. I get this over and over again every time I interview someone, and I'm new, but I'm still getting it. And so I'm asking this question to anyone that I interview so that it'll trigger the remembrance in others. So is it your perception that we are created by a creator and are all one being experiencing itself, or are we all creators? And when you say oneness, does it mean individuals functioning in the organic harmonic expression of unity? Like, are we co-creators creating this whole thing, or is it just one being?
I feel that we are both the creator and the created. It's like if I take a cup and I let it fall into the floor, the cup takes an infinite amount of different shape and forms. And some goes very far, some stay very close to the point of collision. But they are all unique. There is no one piece of the cup is identical to the other one. Yet, all the pieces are the cup. And the cup cannot be recreated even if one of those pieces is missing. The cup cannot be recreated. So that's how I see it, the idea of source and creation. It seems to me that there is this action of breaking, and it's not breaking, it's just expressing through the, I think source use imagination to create.
Mm. Well, you have to use imagination.
So I think we are the product of.
I'm sorry.
What?
We have to use imagination to create.
Yes, and source does too. So we are the product of source imagination.
Individually as a whole.
Everything that all the expression of life. Huh? What?
Individually or as a whole. We've got to get to the bottom of this. This is driving people nuts. I'm trying to help everyone understand. I'm just asking the question.
Yeah, because the mind is not equipped to understand this kind of vibration. But the female energies definitely can. You cannot analytically explain the truth, but you can feel the truth.
Mm-hmm.
So in my feeling, I think everything is imaginative. It comes from imagination, and everything comes from sound. So the imagination starts to create a vibration, and the vibration starts to create color, light, and crystallize into shapes and forms, which are basically a dream. And so back to the example of the cup, when the cup is reunite everything, everybody goes back into the form of the cup. Now the cup has a sense of self much more vibrant than before. I think a source needs us to experience itself. I think there is a very powerful and profound connection between us and source. We are source product of imagination. And so every time we are ourselves fully, we are fulfilling our scope of existence. Because every time we are fully ourselves, we have full experiences, and this experience goes to source, and source expand even more into itself. Now, this is just my my feeling. I'm sure many people have a different way to explain. There is many people that start to bring God into the picture, or God, or all kind of different scientific approach, and another more spiritual approach. Mine is simple. I see everything as creator. I think we are all creator, So I don't make a differentiation between the creator and the created. We are just a different expression of the same oneness, the same zero field.
Yeah, I think that people struggle is they don't want to believe or feel that they were created. They want to feel that they have always, you know how in this reality, like you want to express yourself individually. You don't want to be lumped into how Patricia feels or how your mother feels or your best friend feels or whatever. Everyone wants to express their individuality. So I feel like if they get lumped into this idea or concept that they were created, then they feel like they're not sovereign anymore. And so I'm really digging deep just to help people find a way to find peace with that.
Yes. You find that peace when you are you're following your joy. Because by following your joy, you raise your frequency, you tune in with source, and then you understand that there is no really differences between you and source. It's just there is no differentiation. It's just oneness. It's oneness that magically express everyone expressed in a unique way. But we are all one. It's a paradox because life is a paradox, and so we need to allow paradox in our, as much as we need utopia to be part of our life.
Yeah.
And those two topics are very scary for many people. Many people don't want to go towards utopia, and many people don't want to accept paradox because
exactly.
they really want to make sense of things, and we need to stop to make sense, and we need to start to make resonance. There is a difference between trying to make sense of things and make resonance with them. So you just follow your resonance, and now we go back to sound and music, of course.
There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go deep into Marco. Are you ready?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. You say sometimes we must break into a million pieces in order to become free. And I want to know, what does that mean to you? And do you have a memory of feeling broken? If so, how did you process and heal from the experience to feel free? And does that have to do with getting to your true place of joy?
When I say breaking in a million pieces, I don't mean it in a dramatic or negative way. I mean it in a very actually fun and exciting way. It means we have to break or bring to the surface everything that doesn't belong to us and let it out and let it go. So, but you have to break. Every time you do that, you basically die, and then you are born again. Because that's the cycle. You are constantly dying and being born again, and dying and being born. You know, every time you identify limited beliefs and you let it go, immediately you are reborn, and now you have access to a much more potentiality than before. So it's a constantly breaking apart all the stuff that serve you because it worked, because it took you where you are right now, but now you have to let it go, and so you have to break free out of it. So in a lifetime, hopefully, if we are daring enough, we break millions and millions of pieces. I know some people that break almost nothing. I have also people in my family, which I love very much, but they are not daring in their life, and so nothing really breaks. It's always stay the same. And they are basically expressing the same ideas or the same arguments as they did 20 years ago. It's basically a tape that keeps saying the same story, right? Because they don't want to dare anything. Everything has to be always, they need to stay in the sameness. But for them, in order to step out from that, they have to break in millions of pieces. They have to break all the stuff and let it out. That's one way to field. And that's what I think I was meaning when I expressed myself in that way.
Well, I remember before when I listened to the first time I heard of you was when George Kavasilis interviewed you. And you said, well, during this time period, some people it's so intense. Some people chose to stay asleep. Those people wouldn't be breaking into a million pieces necessarily right now, right? Because they don't want to feel what we're feeling.
For them, the breaking process is going to be much more painful because they have been postponing. So they have a lot of unresolved stuff. And so for them, if they all of a sudden decide to follow the transformational occurring that is happening right now on our journey, if they decide to do that, they have to do a lot of work because they've been in denial for so long. So they have a lot of stuck emotions in their belly. And so for them, it's going to be much, much harder. And that's why that's one of the reasons why I do music, particularly in a shape of live concerts, because I believe that the role of music at this awakening time is to the first, and there's many others, but the first is to create an energy field that allows the release of emotions. Because if we don't release these emotions, we cannot move further as a species. And I think music does that better than anything else. It's instant. It's just a few notes and you immediately start to open up if you are willing to. So that is the way how I see music, not so much to follow the trend of the music industry, but more as a way to create an open and heart-opening journey for the people that are coming to the concert.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Because I don't feel that with all music, but I know what's geared to I know what's been created for my heart, and I know what opens my heart, and that's what I go for. And it doesn't take, I can just put it on, and let's say I'm going to just do something simple, like today is the day I'm going to clean my home, and I'm going to make sure that Marco's playing in the background because I just resonate with Marco's music. I put it on, and all of a sudden I'm mopping the floor, and I'm like, it's like all this emotion is coming out because it's opening my heart up. And so what's triggered at that point, what's triggered is memories. What's triggered is memories, and what's triggered is like things that were unresolved that needed to be brought up for me to heal. And so I might start out crying, and I'm enjoying the music, crying, laughing, and working at the same time. Like it's this whole big process going on all at once. So yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That's what I am about to produce, a musical journey that takes you through all the kind of emotions so that you can release them and eventually get to a point of neutrality. Because once you discharge the emotional charge that you have towards darkness or light, then you can neutralize yourself, and then you can pass through it. And then you position yourself in a state where you love both equally. You are not anymore afraid of darkness. It's just energy. You are not just trying to avoid darkness to get into the light. You just are much more open to accept the polarity without getting emotionally charged by it. And so in that way, you don't validate anymore the system in that way. You don't feed anymore the system, because now you are in a state of neutral love,
Mm-hmm.
which is not by all means, it's not passive at all. It's actually very, very powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not using the idea of fighting darkness. It's more like unplugging so that the darkness cannot anymore feed from you. And actually you can take it further by loving the darkness to the point where you transform the darkness into light. And that's, I think, what we are here to do, to heal the planet, to help support the planet by just fully embracing the core of ourselves and taking action towards our gifts. Because each of us on Earth has special gifts and uniqueness. And those gifts and uniqueness needs to be addressed, and we need to take responsibility and action towards those, because they've been given to us, or we actually given to us, as a way to navigate through the labyrinth and find the exit door. And as we go out, we also transform and illuminate everything we pass through.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I agree with that too, because I feel like sometimes we get stuck on just the light side or just the dark side, and so we fear the other. We fear if we go too much to the light side, then we're drawn into the God program. If we go too much to the dark side, then we're drawn into the negativity aspect of reality. And so it really is about going back to center and to 0 point, to where you are at neutral observation, and you can't be triggered on either side. You know, where you truly can that's where you can just be and not, and to me, that's what I've experienced love is. To me, love is not a feeling or an emotion. It's when you get to that point to where it just is.
Yes.
And
yes,
that's when,
and that occurs when yeah, go ahead.
No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I was saying that occurs when we follow our joy and our imagination. We basically transform everything that we touch. We become a vehicle of transformation for everything and everybody. All we have to do is just to identify the joy, the real organic joy that is within ourselves, and taking action through our imagination. And then everything will dissipate. The matrix will collapse almost instantly, because we will not be able, we are not be corruptible anymore. We cannot be corrupted anymore. Our sense of integrity is reach the highest peak, and our desire to be a service and to love our fellow humans and our Mother Earth is the only thing that is relevant, and anything else is not relevant anymore. I don't find anything relevant within the matrix structure. I don't see anything that is valuable for me.
In the matrix,
I don't hate it.
Did you say
in the matrix, all this, all these ways to grab our attention, all these constant distractions that the system proposed to us in the form of entertainment, in the form of history, in the educational system, in the form of the medias, in the form of politics, whatever is there, in order for us to, look always outside, looking for somebody that save us, or looking for somebody that make sure that we feel safe. All these are all programs that don't have any relevance to who we really are once we tap into our joyful imagination. because we realize that we are the creator. Nobody can create for us without our consent. And whatever is there that is not organic is there just because we are consenting to it. But the moment we stop consenting, it will not be part of our reality anymore.
So what is synthetic and not organic that we agree to, that is the imposition? Are we the creators, in your perspective, of that imposition?
We are, although we have been very astutely deceived
by ourselves.
But we are responsible. Yes, by ourselves. Yeah, you can say that. I suspect that this curriculum where we are at, it was very challenging, but I don't think it was meant to reach this extent of pain and suffering. I think has been something went wrong. I think the creator of this universe where we are right now somehow it was either he made a mistake or he messed up in something, or something happened that didn't it took a way that he wasn't really meaning to, I think. And because we are all creators, so you create your universe, I create mine, and then what happens is that I get fascinated by your universe, and so I ask you, can I be part of your universe? I want to experience that, right? And so now we are experiencing a universe of one of the creators. We are creators too, right now, having experience of somebody else's creation, and this creator did an incredible job, but something went wrong, I think, and we are here to correct that mistake that occurred.
Okay. Thank you.
I think we are.
No, you answered my question earlier. We got there. Awesome.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you. I know it's hard, it's complicated, but it's this never-ending question of wanting to understand our sovereignty. So, even in our creations, even in the chaos of our creations, it's still a divinely created chaos.
Yeah, well, the chaos comes because we have an expectation.
Yeah.
We have to release all the expectations, 100%. Because if I have an expectation, if I sit down at the piano, I have an expectation, or I take a picture, I have an expectation, or I start to have a conversation with you, I have an expectation. Then I have to start to manipulate. I'm not anymore innocent. I lose the innocence because I have an agenda. I want certain things to happen, it has to happen this way. Now, when I sit down at the piano, I take a picture, I talk to you, I start to manipulate myself in order to achieve that expectation. And now I'm not innocent anymore. I'm not pure anymore. I am a manipulator. I'm a business person now. I'm starting to do marketing now. And so we need to go back to the innocence where we follow our joy and we have no expectations whatsoever. The resulting end is not our business. Our business is the traveling. It's not so much the destination. It's the traveling where we gain the experiences that we need in order to move forward, not in the destination. Most of us, when they create, they are creating thinking about the destination all the time. And if you create in that way, you are not able to express what many think call geniality or greatness, because now your mind is involved in the process. and your mind is not equipped to be creator. The mind is not equipped to create. The mind is equipped to do many other wonderful tasks, but not to be a creator. The creator is the heart.
That's right. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to ask you one more thing. Because this is really fascinating to me, what you share. You said, I see and feel the delicate process of remembering gently unfolding, taking all of us back into the full awakened presence and light that we truly are. I see this event as the invitation to welcome our star brothers and sisters, to let them know that we do not fear them anymore, and that we are joyfully welcoming them to reveal themselves and join us as part of our family, as they have always been. So my question to you, Marco, is, do you see our star brother and sisters as coming to earth and this unity taking place here? Or is this an ascension process in which we must raise our vibrations in a way that we would come together? Or is this the way you see the unveiling taking place and the matrix collapsing? I know that was a big question, but...
I don't know about this idea of ascension. It seems like the spiritual industry is promoting this ascension idea, but that's already imply that a hierarchy kind of situation, where there are some people that are ascended, so they're better than others. So every time I feel a sense of hierarchy, I don't resonate with that so much. I don't think we need to ascend anywhere. I think we just have to remember what we are, what we already are. We are already fully ascended. We just have momentarily forgotten. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think we need to go anywhere. I think we are home right here. I think our Mother Earth is the most delicious planet in the whole multi-universe. I think in this planet of us, which is a very high conscious being, we have the best of the best of the best. And I think the reason why the extraterrestrials want to come to us is because they want to learn a lot from us. They have a lot to learn. Once we remember everything, we are quite masterful. We are probably the cream of the top. How to say the top of the cream? I don't know in English how to say that. But
no, so
I think we are fine. What?
No, so you envision when you say you envision the star family coming, like us coming together, and there's no fear. Do you envision them coming to Earth and us having our reconnection, our remembering, and our family reconnected here on Earth?
Yeah, I envision ourselves once we fully remember. I envision ourselves accepting the mystery of life, and the mystery expressed in extraterrestrial shape and forms, but it expresses itself in everything, because everything is really a mystery. Nobody really knows anything. Yeah. I don't think anybody knows. It's not about knowing. It's about, again, just being ourselves and allowing and remembering. So that gathering, it means to fully be open and embrace all the aspects of life, all the diversity of life, with a full open heart, with a loving compassion, and with excitement, with joy, and that might include extraterrestrial. It might include all kind of beings, but right now, because we are not remembering who we are, we don't have the necessary frequency to see them. It's like if we are watching a TV and there is a 200 channel, but we are synchronized only in one. we see only one channel. But as we start to remember, we start to see more channels simultaneously. We start to be able to, and eventually we will be able to see the whole sequence of channel in the TV, and we will be able to integrate that and embrace that and accept them with no fear. That's the transformational vision that I have. In my case, I see that vision fulfilled through the power of sound and music. But everybody else will see that fulfillment through the exercising of their own gifts. So everybody will have a different way to get there, and all the way to get there are good and valid and wonderful and special and unique.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. Thank you. So I just want to close with just allowing you to share something that you feel humanity needs to hear at this moment in time to remember who they are.
I think there are many things that I can come out with. I think one very important thing that we need to learn is to start to relax ourselves. In our navigation through this fascinating physicality, there are moments where when we are givers, and there are moments when we are receivers. Those moments when we are givers, I would say, let's relax and fully give without having to put always a price on our giving, without having to measure always what I get back from it. Just relax and fully give out of joy, and trust that life synchronicity will get back to you in the most unexpected way. By relaxing into the giving, we step out from the fixated valuable measurable system, which is the monetary system, which is a system that is overimposed and that says that certain things have certain value, and the price is created by a few that has some hidden agendas. So it's all well and good. There's nothing wrong with that in a certain way. But if we start to relax our giving and we just give because we love to give, trusting that we will get back, because there is only abundance. When we step out from the matrix frequencies, there is only infinite abundance. So we don't have to be worried about what we get back. So when we when we are in the moment of giving, let's just give fully without saving anything. And when we receive, let's do the same. Let's be completely open to receive, and feel that we are worth it to receive whatever is coming on our way. Once we relax this giving and receiving, already most of the matrix will not have a grip on us anymore, because we will be more in tune with the organic dance of life, where giving and receiving is just a natural way of being, and we don't need to measure it all the time. I hear many people says, you should charge more, you don't love yourself. I heard that many times, and it really surprises me. It's like the more I charge, the more I love myself. That's an interesting connotation.
Yeah.
I would say let's let go of that. Let go of the whole thing. Just relax and just do things for joy and give to them, and you will see that you will be rewarded.
Thank you so much.
Once we master that, once we master that, we will not be more corruptible. We will be able to stand for our greatness and stand for other people's greatness and stand in our integrity. And so immediately the matrix will have no power whatsoever on us.
Thank you so much for that, because when I started doing the interviews and sessions that I do for people, I made a decision at that point to not charge for sessions, to do them on a donation basis. And my sessions strictly are for just someone to come in and have honest conversation where they feel that they can have someone holding space and will just allow them to share without judgment. And I didn't really, when I was doing this, I felt like I didn't know how to put a price on it. It didn't make sense to me to put a price on it. And when I started doing interviews, it was the same kind of thing. Like, what's a fair exchange? How do you do this in a way that makes people feel supported? And just what kept coming up to me over and over again is that it's not about the monetary system. It's truly the connection, the human organic connection that creates a supportive system of being. And so I came under a lot of ridicule for doing my sessions on donations. And the very words were to me, don't you value yourself? What was the other one? Was like a poverty mindset. I'm like, I've never had a poverty mindset. I've always been in the business world, and I've always done very well for myself. In fact, when I let go of the business world and I started to embrace the organic, I kind of went through a transition of losing everything. And so I kind of felt like, oh my goodness, I'm coming into integrity for the first time in my life, and everything's being stripped away. And then I realized it wasn't about the money system. But at first it felt like that to me, like, wow, I'm in integrity now, I'm losing everything. And then I realized I wasn't in true integrity until I let go of the corporate, the money, the expectations, just letting myself do what I knew came naturally and being me.
Yes, I just actually I felt guided to write something about it, and this writing is pure utopia in this moment, utopia.
Mm.
But I think utopia is just utopia. It's just a truth that people are still not ready to hear, and so somebody has to. We have to go towards utopia, because if nobody would go towards that, we wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't have these glasses. Somebody uses imagination, and so he went out from the narrow thinking that life is you just don't see anymore, and then that's it. But somebody said, no, there is a way that we can resolve this. So he was, in that moment, he was very going towards utopia, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I wrote an article recently about something that I called, I forgot how I called it, something like measuring the value of things through resonance.
I read it.
So I don't think everything should... Oh, you read it? Yes.
Yeah, I read it.
Okay. So you know what I'm talking about. It's basic. I don't think everything should have the same price for everybody, because for everybody, everything has different value for different reasons. It means different things. So we should, little by little, gently, start to learn to look within ourselves and make an assessment of the value of something that we desire, and then being exchange in that way, rather than if I have my music and you want my music, you will feel the resonance, and the degree of resonance will establish the value of the music that has for you, and based on that value you will either pay me, or you will maybe exchange with the service by you exercising something, the product of your joy that might be resonant with what I need, or you simply would pay it forward,
Mm-hmm.
which means that you get something from me, and you commit to do the same for somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is for most of the people would be completely crazy to think about it.
Mm-hmm.
But if we start to address the things like that, and start to little by little go towards that direction, I think the world will be quite a wonderful world, because we won't need any more money, or actually money would be just one of the millions of ways we can get things.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
It'll be like contract to contract, that's what it'd be like, but with a heart resonance. Like, I feel that very deeply. That's why when I approach this, what I'm doing now, it's been a little bit different than the way other people are doing things, and so it felt a little uncomfortable. But now, hearing you express this and what I had just recently read before interviewing you, it felt really good to me, because I was like, this is what my heart passion is. It doesn't, people that resonate with you and are supportive with you will support one another. We always will. We were always intended to. It'll happen.
Yes, when I feel uncomfortable, if their comfortability is coming from a joyful desire to do something, that's a good sign for me. It means that I'm in the right track.
Mm-hmm.
When I am not understood, when I'm ridiculous, like you said, that's for me is a good sign. It means I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah, I agree.
So I'm very excited about it.
Yeah. Okay, so do you want to give your website information before we close, just so that a lot of people know you? That's why I'm interviewing you, because people just love what you do. But just go ahead and put it out there for anyone that hasn't heard of it before.
Yes, right now I'm redesigning my whole thing, but basically the website is just my full name, marcomissinato.com. Marco is M-A-R-C-O, and Missinato is M-I-S-S-I, and like Nancy A, T like Tom O. MarcoMissinato.com is my website. Right now I'm going to create different branches. One is going to be fully dedicated to music, another one to the blogs that I'm doing right now, the video blogs, and the other one completely dedicated to photography. And eventually everything will blend into one full expression, which probably will express in the near future in a form of live experience.
Okay, thank you so much, Marco. And I will also, when I post this on my website and YouTube, I'll also share the links to Marco's website. So thank you very much, Marco.
Thank you, Patricia. It was so lovely to talk to you. It's
Yes,
so beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You too. And thank you so much.